let's go ahead and actually jump into the workshop. We will take you guys through a bunch of different activities. We'll have you code hands-on. Take it over, Christian.
If everyone could open the repository, there's nothing that you need to install. We all start fresh directory. It can be everywhere on your computer. You create a new directory, and then we expect you to meet the first objectives, which is have a simple test suite set up with WebdriverIO testrunner that opens the real-world application. That looks like this. It's a simple sign-in flow. You sign in with the test.js submit email address and use the password. And your goal is to check if that login has been successful. There's a couple of steps describe how you can achieve that. You create a package JSON, you install the WebdriverIO CLI, and you run the configuration wizard that WebDriver provides. So it's almost done everything automatically for you. Just follow the steps. You can even just pick the default answers, and it should give you a working test setup with some example files already pre-made for you. So you can run through that. And here's the npx, the WDR config command that goes through all the questions. And if you answer all the questions with the default answer, you should get a default setup that tests a different application, and then the task will be to just change it to the Redux real-world application and adjust the test a little bit.
In this workshop, we will show you guys WebdriverIO, plus we'll show you Cypress, Puppeteer, Playwright, or Testcafe, how we set it up. We're using Sauce Testrunner Toolkit, but the majority of the workshop we're going to run with WebdriverIO, just because it can do most of the things we needed to do, like front-end performance testing, visual testing, and so on. So feel free to just follow along in the steps. You'll set up a WebdriverIO directory. You'll set up a Cypress or Puppeteer or Playwright or Testcafe as well. But then through the rest of the workshop, it'll be mainly WebdriverIO.
By next year latest, we can do this workshop again, but have all tasks with Cypress, Puppeteer, Playwright, or Testcafe, because by next year, I'm pretty confident that you can scale those projects in the way that we have most of our customers see scaling their automation frameworks.
But throughout the presentation, for example, in the CI/CD section, cloud integration section, we will show you guys how to set that up with these other frameworks as well using Sauce Testrunner Toolkit. So yeah, you'll get to see all of that, and all of that is in the repo. It's just our primary runner that we'll be using throughout to kind of expand on will be WebdriverIO. First, you want to once you have your directory, as you see in the setup there, right? We create the directory, call it test.js workshop. Then you want to do npm init-y. That'll initialize the package.json, and then you want to do npm install WebdriverIO 6 CLI, as you see the command there, and that should get you into the wizard to set up WebdriverIO. Hey, Christian, I'm thinking, do you want to just pull up Visual Studio Code and just show them the install live?
Yeah, I can do that. So we create a new directory and make a default npm package. So that's what we have, a package JSON in our directory. And so then we can install the WebdriverIO CLI package. We can store this to our dependencies. Yeah, the Chrome driver version that is being installed is the latest, and the Chrome driver version needs to meet the version that you have installed on your machine. Yeah, but WebdriverIO comes with an assertion library that is similar to the one that Jasmine uses. It's actually the one that Jest uses with some extra commands on top. So if you pick Mocker, Jasmine, or Cucumber, it doesn't matter. You have like the same assertion library through all the frameworks. So by default, in your package.json, you see the dependencies that are being installed. And you see here Chrome driver being installed as latest. So this is right now 88. You can adjust that by removing the uptick here and changing the Chrome driver version, remove the dependencies and reinstall them again. That could fix it. So I have installed default packages using the -y parameter. So that picks local runner, Mocker framework, spec reporter, the Chrome driver service to start Chrome, and the WDI sync. And it also comes with some tests prepared. So here we have already some test specs, and we can look into them. They essentially open the example page and do a login test there, and we would need to rewrite it, but we should be able to run it already without any problems. So ideally, there should be 3 npm commands to get up and running. We're working on getting this to 1 to make it even simpler. So there we go. So the test works with the spec reporter and all this output. Yeah, switching to a different node version like 12 ideally should work. This is with fibers sometimes difficult. You can also not have fibers. It's not required, but then you, instead of having to write the test like this, like synchronous, you would need to async await on them because every command is asynchronous. So you would need to write async await in front of every of those commands. That should work too, but it's easier if Fibers is being installed and everything runs synchronous.
Hey, Christian, do you want to maybe show people how to switch to node 12 if they want to try it with node 12 instead of 14?
Sure. So there's the best way of doing that is using NVM, which is the node version manager. Just run that, and you can say, how do I usually do that? NVM use 14 or 12.
Nice. So yeah, from the chats, it seems like node 12 has been pretty successful for people versus node 14.
It's interesting. I never had issues installing fibers with node 14 or 12. Like even if I
yeah, same here. I remember I had fibers issues back in the day, maybe with node 12, I think actually, or maybe node 10.
Because for those node versions like 14, the LTS ones, the fibers comes pre-built and it does not need node zip, and so it doesn't need to be compiled. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so just for information purposes, as we continue with WebdriverIO, but if you like to play around with Cypress, Puppeteer, Playwright, or Testcafe on Source Labs at scale as well, you can install that tool. It's also available via NPM, and it allows you to just run quickly through it on this directory.
Yeah, the only thing you guys will need is your free Source Labs account.
This would allow you to run those Docker tests locally, those Cypress or Testcafe tests locally, and later on expand them into the cloud to run on Source.
Yeah, guys, if you're following throughout, say try the Cypress. So when you do the command, it'll take you through an installation wizard. Pick Cypress, as I know that solution is more up to date with features than the other ones.
Yeah, that team has been start working on that for a couple of months now, and we will GA this tool soon to be available for everyone for free in the basic version, and people can start running the Cypress test on Source Labs as well.
Yeah, we have the solutions in here. We hope you guys don't cheat. Of course, you can look ahead if you want to. We can't stop you, but if you want to, after fix your errors or see how anything was implemented, they're in the solutions folder, and you can see per chapter.
Yeah, the modified test does not use the base URL, so it has the complete URL in the URL parameter, but it would work the same way if you would just have a slash route the hashtag and then login. If you have the base URL set, that should work too. I use the attribute, this CSS selector to select the inputs, and just calling the set value command on it. Add value works as well. The difference is that set value clears the input before setting it. So if you know that the input value is empty, add value does the trick as well, and it's even a little bit faster as it saves one command. And then we click on the submit button. There used to be a submit command in the old JSON wire protocol that has been removed. As there's no such thing as a form, like there's form elements in HTML, but the ideology of forms is difficult to standardize. So click on the submit button, does it too. And then we use the WebdriverIO insertion library to expect that an element, that a link that has the test.js submit in it is to be existing. If you want to change the version of Chrome Driver, just modify in your package JSON. There's one package for that. So not this one. So here we have Chrome Driver. Here it's set to version 87, which was the case a couple of days ago when I worked on this. You can hard code the version, you can set the strict version to 87. And that should get you the correct Chrome Driver version. For all other WDIO packages, it's always recommended to use the latest. Ideally, why do we have to put the full URL if we have to set the base URL? My solution is not really correct because I haven't set the base URL in my WDIO config. But if you have, even better, because that allows you, the advantage of you having a base URL instead of the full one is that you can configurize the URL, the target application in your configuration, so that your tests here work for the staging environment the same way as in production or on development, because you can parameterize your base URL. So let me fix that. So adding, just starting with a slash, and so then it looks for the base URL, and that I need to adjust in the WDIO config, doing it here. And here we have the base URL, which is default set to localhost, which we now want to be for the Redux version. So now we can see we have the base URL here in our config. And now when we, for instance, call WebdriverIO, and can I write this somewhere? Just see, like we can do npx WDIO run the config file and can say base URL equals, and then our, for instance, development version of our app. So that allows you to easily switch or parameterize the test execution.